What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here. It's time to bring you a new reaction video. But before that, 75% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed. This means two things. You're either brand new to the channel or returning. And I do hope that this video gets you to hit that subscribe button today. Last year, we didn't hit our goal of 400,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. We almost got there, and we were so close to 100,000 new subscribers in that year. But I still need more people to join and subscribe to get my channel to hit 1 million subscribers. This upcoming year, the new goal is 500,000 subscribers, and I need you to hit that subscribe button today so we can hit it this year. I know we can do it. What's up, everybody? So, this is out of the ordinary. If you guys are looking for a reaction that I normally do, this is definitely not one of them. This is going to be something that I wanted to make a video on because, one, it is something we should talk about. And the biggest thing right now for the internet is the Nintendo Switch 2 and the game prices. And the fact and the scariness of what direction Nintendo is trying to do and take their games and everything for the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. Now, to be 100%, if you guys want to see my Nintendo Direct reaction, the full Direct is on my channel. You can go see it. I even talk a little bit more. I had a buddy with me, my friend Todd, in the discussion in the Nintendo Direct reaction, and we even talked about this a little bit. I was a little bit more heated, I guess, in a sense. This is a day after the fact, and everyone's talking about this. Everyone is going absolutely crazy over the situation we have, because if you just type in or look into anything when it comes to the Nintendo pricing of games being between 70, 80, 90, and even depending on stuff, maybe even closer to 100 because of taxes, and maybe even worse. We have no idea what this is going to do when it comes to the market of video games in the future. As you type in this, you're going to see a lot of these thumbnails, a lot of this talk of game prices and how this is horrible. There's even been already so much backlash and everything when it comes to basically everything. When it comes to just the pricing, everyone's freaking out, and it's completely understandable, because realistically we have not seen we've seen somewhat of a rise in the cost of games when the PS5 came out and stuff like that. Games starting to go no longer at that $60 value that we've been all comfortable with for many years. Even when I started buying my own games as a kid, saving up my money, I knew games were $50 at one point instead of $60, and then it jumped to $60. Games on when I was growing up on the GameCube era, N64 stuff, I don't even remember how much games were when I was a kid. My first console was the N64, but I didn't really buy a lot of games myself. I would always have to wait for my birthday and or Christmas to get games, and most often, a lot of times back when, this will maybe show you how old I am, back when Game Crazy was a thing, before GameStop took over, basically. There was a gaming store with Blockbusters, another reason why people are going, oh my god, Steven's old. Blockbusters, Game Crazy, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot going on, and I still remember having to wait months between games and all that stuff. Nowadays, it's a lot different. Of course, I'm older. I have spending money and all that stuff. But this is also going to be changing a lot. And based off of everything I've been seeing in everybody's discussion videos, because I've watched some people, I actually watched this one yesterday in particular. I saw this pop up. I've seen the Angry Joe show here and there, and I don't watch him often, but I saw this one and I wanted to see this one. This is one of the ones I watched prior. The video we are going to be watching is Maxmillion. Switch 2 games cost how much? We are watching this video. This dropped 5 hours ago. I actually started to watch this video. I stopped, and there was something that happened in the video that made me go, oh, you know, that's not untrue. And it maybe really inspired me to do this video, to do a little bit of a discussion. We are going to have a reaction segment. I know this is not the normal video. There's going to be a lot more talking. We will get into this video. If you guys want to skip ahead, you guys can. But it's not just a normal reaction video or anything like that. But Maxmillion, this channel in particular, I've watched for quite a long time. I watched a lot of videos here and there. I even would sit down and watch some videos that I remember from the past. A bunch of other stuff. So I've watched this casually on my side. I've never reacted to any of his stuff. Never thought I would ever react to any of his stuff as a video. But this, I think, is good because especially some of the things he pointed out that made me go, oh shit. And I didn't watch the full video, so there could be some more info that might be shocking to me that he might bring up. But if you guys want to show your support to Maxmillion, which you should, honestly, because he goes into a lot of this stuff. This dropped 5 hours ago, has 100k views. I'm gonna show my support. I'm already subscribed. You should do the same thing. But I watch this channel a lot. He's a very respectable streamer, gamer in the community on YouTube. A lot of stuff. He's very insightful. He has a lot more knowledge than I do when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I did grow up. My first console I ever played was the Sega Genesis console. But my first console I ever had as my console was when I was a kid. I got a Nintendo 64 as a Christmas gift. And it took me a very long time. I saved up money. I eventually got myself a GameCube. I then also did the same thing. It took me a couple years. I didn't even get a PS2 until it was the slim version, and I got it for when it got like lowered down to like $240 or $50, and it took me over a year and a half of saving and doing things around the block where I would wash cars for $10 or something like that, $5-10 depending on the size of the car, and a bunch of other stuff. I just remember there was a lot of things I had to do growing up when it came to gaming, and it was similarly expensive, but it's also the time period, and it didn't dawn on me much on the concept of how technology has grown and how everything has grown. And we have gotten that comfortable stage, which I still agree with a lot of people in saying it's ridiculous how they are upcharging on certain things. But in this video, I was shocked on some of the statements early in this video. Max said that I kind of agree with in some sense. So it is a very shocking thing to see what's going on with the gaming industry, because there's a lot of talks about back when rumors, and I don't think there's anything confirming it, but there was rumors about Rockstar charging $100+ for the standard edition of GTA 6, which honestly, depending on the quality of the game, yeah, you should be able to charge a little bit more, because GTA Rockstar in a sense is always making blockbustering game of the year titles that are giving you hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours of gaming that gamers love. And although there are things that we did and we're doing to support, like a good example, I don't think this happened a lot in Red Dead Redemption 2, but for like GTA 5, there was microtransactions to help keep basically the cost of the game and keep getting Rockstar to produce more content for the game over the years. Over the many years GTA 5 has been out, and it's just been an ongoing thing. But it's still a very shocking thing for a lot of people out there, a lot of stuff. And I'm just seeing drones and hashtags bring down the cost. like all over online social medias attacking Nintendo and going. And to me personally, I'm just seeing this. I'm like, that's not going to work. Nintendo has always been very, very stubborn. And to the point where there was a point, I would say Nintendo GameCube was the last console I truly loved being a Nintendo fan. I did not care about the Wii growing up. I never cared about the Wii. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are going, "What, Steven? You didn't like the Wii?" I never cared about it, personally. I never owned one. I had a couple friends that owned one. I'd play a game or something when I was over their house, but I never cared that much about the Nintendo Wii. Wii U came out, gave no fucks about it, and honestly, the community didn't care about it either. The Nintendo Switch came out. I have a Switch, but I did not care about it when it first came out. I waited a long time. I think I waited like, 2, maybe 3 years after its release to pick one up, and I didn't even buy it brand new. I bought it from a coworker when I was working a normal job. I got 3 video games, a Pro Controller, the dock, a carrying case, the Nintendo Switch itself, and it was in pretty damn good condition. And it's the same Switch I've had for the last 5-6 years or whatever when I bought it. I can't remember, but I've had it for about 5-6 years. And I got all that for $240 from a coworker. So, I've not cared about Nintendo for a long time. They've done stuff in the past that made me go, oh, Nintendo, they're kind of shitheads. At the same time, I'm not surprised that they're trying this, and they will not hear or change their mind. They are focused, and they don't care. And they know that they are going to make the sales. So, it does suck for a lot of content. No, I shouldn't say content. It does suck for a lot of gamers out there that aren't content creators, I would say. Content creators, I don't think this is going to affect content creators that much because we have the ability to do things and stream stuff and utilize the games and softwares and items that we buy for our business as content creators. So we get a little bit more, even if it costs a little bit extra. But regular gamers, regular kids growing up, getting games, and how expensive things are going to probably be over the time and stuff like that, it is going to suck. But I want to get into this video. I like I said, this is not a normal reaction. I've been talking for almost 13 minutes. And it is shocking to see games going up that much. And the fact that it's basically the Switch 2 at this point is realistically a... And also, this was pointed out in one of the other videos I watched recently. Actually, you know what? I want to get this video. As a reference because one of my favorite YouTubers, Uber Nova. I'll even leave the link for this video down below since we're gonna watch a portion of it. Uber Nova, or James, if you know. I've been a fan of his since I think 2010 or 2011-ish. So I've been watching Uber Nova, and he posted a video and he did a statement. Let me go to his video. Okay, so I just want the end of his video. This was a video I watched it already. But I want to point this out. This is also, like I said, this is one of my favorite creators. I still watch him to today. I still support him, and I absolutely love his content. I watch his streams a lot here and there on my own time. I actually don't even watch them live most often. I'll watch them in bulk when I have time, but this will be down below. But I want to just get to the end where he talks about some stuff when he finds out the pricing, and he actually makes a good point at the end of the oh wait, where is it? One second, let me see where this is.
But like the base pushing the down for price, 450.
Yeah. This is where I want to be. Okay, so if you want to see his full reaction to the Nintendo and this title, my brutally honest reaction to the Nintendo Switch 2. This honestly was a fun watch. If you guys want to see it from the very beginning, go watch it. Link in the description. Show your support.
official Nintendo Switch 2 website, which goes live later today.
So
they didn't say one price for anything.
His discussion and thought process is also some stuff I agree with.
There's a reason for that? Oh no, wait, did they actually announce the price? Did they announce the price?
And I think he watched the Nintendo Direct. Based off how he talks during this, by the way, it seems like he watched it after it was already over. Oh, look at that face.
$450? Well,
By the way, I'm going to say this right now. I do not have a problem with the console itself being $450. I think that is a reasonable price for a new console that is basically a portable PlayStation 4 Pro. It is still not anywhere near PS5 or the next gen that we might get in the future, like PS6 and whatnot. It's not PC level, but it is PlayStation Pro 4 level of stuff.
Sick. Mario Kart World on its own for $80? Mario Kart World is currently being listed for $80 on Nintendo's website. Another storefront says $80 for digital and $90 for physical? You pay a $10 bump for the physical copy? Though weirdly, the new Donkey Kong game is listed at $70, means it might vary from game to game. Perhaps the idea is that because it's the Mario Kart series that it's Nintendo's most popular by far, they can get away with pushing that specific price up. What? There's already people on Reddit fucking like, there's already people on Reddit going crazy. Nothing in this fucking entire video screamed like we're pushing the envelope. Everything in this video screamed we're playing catch up and we just now made it to where the competition has been for the past 10 years.
I agree with that statement, but the only difference is it is for a handheld, not a standalone. It is a standalone home console, but it's also trying to be a handheld, basically, console too. That's the one thing I will say, and that's probably due to that portion. If they just made a full-on console that is only for at-home play, they could make a console on par with PS5 and in the future PS6, etc.
And they are charging an extra $10 to $20 per game? I didn't expect them to fucking like suddenly be like, yeah, $80, $90, per game or something like that versus like EA or Ubisoft or something like that. I figured like this would be an EA thing or something, We're already in that kind of gray area where like deluxe editions, fucking, that kind of thing, like where there's other editions of a game on release that are pretty much $80 to $90.
We get a little bit of extra stuff, like some DLC, like exclusive missions, or some extra little like armor or guns or weapons that is for that edition to bump up the price an extra $10 or so, even $20. Yes, that is true too. We have gotten a little bit used to that as well, which I don't see Nintendo doing that kind of stuff, but they are still going to push the envelope of the price.
But like the base game being $80 to $90, are we really at that point now? Literally the PS5 price? That's crazy. And in my situation, I will buy this console. I will play The Legend of Zelda in all of its remastered glory. And I will post a video on it, and it will immediately get copywritten by these motherfuckers, and they will take my ad revenue for it as well.
Nintendo is shitheads for that. That's also why I stopped liking Nintendo even more. Growing up and seeing the fact that they were going after YouTubers for their ad revenue and all that other stuff, there was a lot that they did in the past that made me go, no, fuck Nintendo. And they're not as bad, but they're still that bad at the same time.
So I will pay more money for all of their new things, and they will be the first ones to fucking copyright claim my ass versus any other fucking publisher out in the game industry right now. So you're saying that even the $10 extra physical copy isn't an actual physical copy? Well, normally their physical copies, you still have to connect to the internet to download the thing. It's just a game card, and then you still have to download it, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
The physical copies are just licenses, yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, so
I heard about that too.
if the physical game,
I feel like if it's a physical license, once you plug it into, it's not like one time use. It's like if you have the the little fucking thing that you put in your thing, you should be able to put it in multiple switches and have access to download the game on as many consoles as you want. But to play it, you have to have it in the console itself to have the door unlock. Basically, they let you open up the first screen door to download, and then you have to have it in there to open the door to play the game.
Games have changed, and physical games are literally just the game card that you still have to connect to the internet to download anyway. Where exactly does the $20 upcharge come from? Why is there a $20 upcharge for that? People are saying that this is only for Mario Kart, but this could be like kind of a nice little tester for them, and they might...
Yeah, I feel like that could be a thing too.
Like, you know, this might be like a deal where they do this for first-party games, which is a shame because the only games that literally looked like they were running well on their console, and as per usual as it was before, are the first-party games. Third-party games usually run like shit on the fucking Switch, which is also why... you know, a Bloodborne spinoff is scary to think about on the Switch too. Just in general, that is a scary.
If I do end up buying the Switch 2 in the future, I do plan on picking up that game too myself.
That is a scary venture, but so you can't own games anymore. Yeah, I mean it's been that way for a while. Like technically, when you're buying a game, you're buying a license for the game, and then the license pretty much gets put on your console, and then you pretty much just own that license. You know, it's not like it was before where you could freely be disconnected from the internet.
I think it was basically it started around the PS3, Xbox 360 era where games started to, you put the game in and you can play it. But there was also starting to get so large that they couldn't put all the games on it, so you put the game in and you have to start downloading a portion of the game, and you couldn't access that technically without the disc in general, and you'd always have to download that. But early days of 360, I don't think you had to worry about that. It was like halfway into its lifespan of the 360 is when they started doing it, and then of course going into PS4 era, the Xbox One era, that's when it was a full-on, every game you buy, you gotta download, basically, at this point.
Have a disc and, put the disc in the console and it'll play. Yeah, what's up with the fucking welcome game, the welcome tour game?
That's fucking stupid. That should not be anything. That should be... If that thing, I know they already say they want to sell it, but it should be fucking free. It shouldn't be a cost.
How much is that? Did they fucking put a price point on that? Because people were like, he doesn't know. How much is that? Did they put a price point on that? Welcome Tour not being bundled is insane. Yeah, I thought this was a no-brainer to just be like a game that comes with a console to teach you how to use the console. Not like a paid separate thing, a paid manual. Yeah, it just says it'll be a paid release. I actually appreciate that they showed the video lag in the screen sharing during game chat versus showing pre-rendered video, making it look smoother than it actually is. A level of transparency that most companies don't adhere to. What the fuck does it matter, though? Like, what? What does that matter?
I'm also going to say this right now. 90% of the people who get the Switch 2 will not be using that software, that system at all, because we have Discord already. It's better. The game will lag because you're using it on your end. The game will be laggy watching your friends' gameplay. It's stupid. It's not worth it.
Though they're showing you it looks like shit, so that means you're gonna eat the shit. What? Nintendo Switch 2's editions of Switch games like Zelda and Kirby cost $80. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, however, will sell for $70 according to the retail listings. That is what? Breath of the Wild came out in 2017. This is a 2017 game that runs like...
And that's another thing is people also bring up is the fact that, and I agree, this is stupid. Nintendo never brings down the sales of the prices of their games unless it's a random sale itself. But the games always will be standardly, like, you know how a good example, PlayStation Plus, you see games go from $60 games or $70 games to like 30 or 40 as the standard buy, but then they'll still throw out sales here and there to buy it cheaper, like $20, $15, etc. Nintendo's like, nope. You may find a sale that might be $30, $40, but when that sale ends, it's back up to $60, $70 plus, and it will stay like that for the next 10 years and then some. Mario Kart 8 is a good example.
Ass, and they've ported it to make it good, but like there's nothing else. They didn't. It's not like there's like a new expansion in it. There's not like any. There's a fucking phone app that I thought like looked pretty gimmicky and fun for a video, but I don't think there'd be anything anything substantial for your regular consumer. You know what I mean? Lamau, just don't buy it or play it. Excellent point. Like it or not, like I get it. If you're sitting here and you're saying you're not buying it, I understand that. That's sure, absolutely. But that's not gonna fucking stop the entirety of the game industry from changing this standard. That's the point. That's the point that people are making right now. The point isn't just don't buy this one individual game. Sure, you can skip on Mario Kart, but what happens when they change Donkey Kong or other first-party games to be the exact same thing? What happens when it ends up being successful and other first-party publishers decide they want to do the same thing? What happens when that becomes the standard for any game across the board, and that's what you're doing every single time? What happens then? You're just not going to play games anymore? They showcased some dated-ass technology that is just now catching up to where we're at, and I'd argue that there's still choices and options that are still better than their hardware, that can still perform better than their hardware, and I'm expected to pay more for it, and more for each individual game on top of it. They're not even, like, hiding it under the fucking facade of a deluxe edition. They're just like, no, Mario Kart is $90 out of the gate. They're not even trying. They ain't even trying to put some fucking gold flakes over the fucking pile of shit. They're just like, no, you're just straight up eating this pile of shit. No sprinkles on it, just shit. You're gonna eat it.
It's like, this is why I love watching Nova.
You're gonna like it. This is the way the industry's gonna go.
All right, there you guys go. A little bit of that. Now I want to get into the video here, and like I said, Maxmillion brings up a couple points that I hate, but holy shit, it didn't even dawn on me or thinking wise on some of past events when it comes to gaming. So we're gonna watch this video next. Like I said, this is not a normal reaction video. This is a discussion, rant, whatever you want to call it, topic. Just to bring out my point of view, my thought process on everything that's going on and whatnot, and bring in a couple of YouTubers that I personally like, and I also agree with some of their points, and also I want to finish this video, and I thought it'd be great as a reaction. God, his intro is always fucking badass.
Let's talk about pricing. So the Switch 2 got revealed, and the Switch 2, I would argue the price of the hardware is moderately priced. We had a gift sub bet that the Switch 2 was going to be $399. To me, that was pretty much the lowest in my...
I never saw it being under 400. I thought it was going to be somewhere between $400 and $500. Me personally too. Sitting down thinking about the Switch, I thought it was going to be about $500 at the highest. $400 the cheapest, but I really didn't expect it to be at $400.
My brain, they could possibly make that system cost. $400 felt like about right. The modern day, especially considering the Switch OLED was teetering on like $350. So it's like, yeah, them being $450 in my eyes, it's like, damn, that is not much more than I thought it was going to be, because in my head, I'm like, my dude, are we really getting a Nintendo console that's going to be $500? $450 is legit Not bad. That is not the problem, though. We're now at a point where we're wishing the system costs $500. That Nintendo would charge us $500, maybe even $550, because now they are pretty much saying that first-party Nintendo games, and we're going to leave it up to devs, get to choose how much their games cost. Standardized pricing is out the window. Mario Kart is $80 to $90, depending on your region. Donkey Kong is a $70 game, which matches up with some other first-party games on the Switch. So it's like, wait, what? Mario Kart is a super expensive game. They're anticipating people are going to be buying the bundle, almost forcing people to have to get the digital bundle. But it sets a precedent that has been...
Like, when I do eventually buy the Switch, I don't think I'm going to buy it. I've always say this. I never buy consoles on day one release. I never do any of that pre-order crap. I never deal with that. At the same time, with scalpers and everything else, it's going to probably be annoying to deal with in the future when I do decide to buckle down and try to get this Nintendo Switch 2. But I just don't know if, one, me personally, at the time frame when it, because it's what, April 9th, I believe they said pre-orders are going to launch. I don't think I could pre-order and drop down like $500 around that time frame. I'm going to be honest right now, to get or secure myself one, and I don't really care to go for the day one stuff. Me personally, like I said, I waited several years before I bought the Switch, and I don't mind waiting a couple of months to almost another year or so, depending. I don't know when I'll buy the Switch 2, but realistically, maybe around the time the new Pokemon game comes out, maybe, I don't know. But still, that is going to be a hefty price.
Obviously changing over this console generation and has been teased several points from bigger developers. We all know the biggest looming question is that I think we've almost accepted this, and I'm not a big GTA fan, but I feel like Grand Theft Auto fans are already sitting in a moment of presumption that GTA is going to cost $99.99. That game's going to come out and it's going to cost you $100. And the crazy part is that because it's such an anticipated game, that is just accepted. Everyone wants it so much that it's practically a thing that people are just like, yeah, so that's pretty much what's happening. Okay. And to me, it's like, as somebody that's not a GTA fan, I'm like, no, that's kind of wild. That's very different than the way this entire industry has been leading up to that point, if that's like a culturally accepted thing. So now we get new Nintendo hardware. Their hero game for the system costs $80, and it's a concept that they can overall price their games if need be, which is scary. And why is it scary? Because we are now retreading a very similar thing that Nintendo...
So he's bringing something up that I grew up in, but I wasn't really aware about everything. Because like I said, I grew up, had Nintendo 64, had the GameCube. My first console was the Sega Genesis. But I was a kid and I wasn't aware of things, and I waited for Christmases and birthdays for getting a single or maybe two games at a time, maybe if I was lucky. And I never even thought about the pricing of games back then. It wasn't until probably closer to the GameCube time frame for me when I started to save up money. GameCube to PS2 time frame in my life was when I was going out of my way and picking up games and earning money to buy games, and still getting a couple games, maybe one or two for my birthday and or Christmas occasionally. And games would last me, or I would have games or get games that would be the game I play for the next 2 to 3 months, while I save up, and maybe even 4 months, while I save up and try to go for another game that interests me. And I utilize Games Crazy for used games, so I didn't have to buy them at full price and stuff like that.
Other consoles went through back in the day. I have to also have a reminder, it seemed like Sony was kind of the ones that were going to prop up the fact that, hey, PS4 games, you know, like how about PS4 games and beyond are $59.99? How about them being like $60? Now that we're on like PlayStation and PS5 and stuff, we've sort of been acclimated to the idea that, okay, so maybe games are like $69.99 every once in a while now. Maybe some big games are actually kind of expensive when they come out. Nintendo also kind of followed suit with a lot of first-party games on the Nintendo Switch. So now it's being bumped up a little bit more. $10 increments every single time. A reminder, in the early 90s, the entire reason we had standardized pricing for games was because of the PlayStation 1. Was because Sony chose to print their games on extremely cheap CDs, and they were being competitive in the market. They were trying to get a leg up in the market against Sega, against Nintendo, do something that didn't use cartridge.
Did have a PS1 growing up, but it wasn't mine. It was my dad's. But I would play it at certain time frames. I was allowed to play it as a kid. But we didn't have that many games on the PlayStation 1. I think we had, I think at most, and this was like multiple years of like getting games for cheap and or getting games when they were on sale or used. I think at most, I think when I was a kid, no more than 20. Like somewhere between 10 and 20 games is what I had growing up with the PS1 to choose from. And also a good chunk of them were not games I'd often play because they were games my dad wanted because he played a lot of golf games. I played the golf games though, I did. There was even a couple Madden games, stuff like that. But I would play them every so often.
Technology that they had to spend a whole bunch of money on and pay Nintendo and pay Sega to like print games on these.
Oh my god, I think I remember something. There was even some games in that list of games I just said, the 10 to 20, that weren't even full-on games. My dad had gotten some demo discs that we'd only be able to play for like a half hour to an hour, and then we would have to start all over. I remember that. I can't remember what game it was, but there was this like top-down third-person shooter with a pink hair girl and a really buff dude that would go around shooting all. Oh my god,
cartridges and shit, which were ballooning game prices. Sony was like, what if we just buy general CDs because they're cheap? And all of a sudden games were $49.99 period. Games would be cheaper than that. Greatest hits games for PS1 games could sometimes be $19.99. That was the change in the industry. And from that point forward, for like nearly 15 years, games were $50 because most of them were CD based, you know? That has been the standard that the majority of time in the industry we have been privy to. We were sort of in this moment where like...
I would say the $50 genre of games as a normal price for brand new games, stuff like that, was during that time frame between PS1 and PS2. Going, and then of course when 360 came out, that's when the $60 value of games started to be the norm, and we got really used to that, and that's how we are today.
Yeah, video games cost $50, and that feels about right. That feels good. I want to remind everyone what this shit was like in the SNES and the Genesis era. I pre-ordered Killer Instinct for my Super Nintendo when it came out. That bitch-ass game on the receipt was $95. And
when he said, this is actually where I stopped watching. This is near the point where I stopped watching, because realistically, $95 for a game for the NES back then. Compare $95 from then to now, that game would have been well over $200 for the standard edition. Him saying that made me pause this video around this point and go, oh my fucking god. Holy shit. And also, a lot of this stuff, I was a kid. I was not aware of a lot of this stuff going on. And this is where I probably am now going to start seeing things that I haven't watched. Like I said, I stopped around this point.
We got to pull up some examples. We're going to take you back to the ass when games used to cost a shit ton of money. Here is an idea of somewhat standardization happening. PlayStation games are right around the $50 mark. Depending on where you buy them at Toys R Us, they sometimes would mark up. Some places would not. Some places...
I think this is where I stopped watching, because this made me go, oh my fucking god.
But if we look over here on the N64, games are at the PlayStation 4 generation of pricing for the majority of first-party games, and it's all over the place, man. 65 and 4. But if we...
Doom 64, $75 for an N64 game. $75. Holy shit.
Look over here on the
I think we are like, this is what Nintendo wants to bring back, basically, I feel like, is to be able to have, like, if these are all new games, but depending on the franchise, depending on stuff,
N64. Games are at the PlayStation 4 generation of pricing for the majority of first-party games, and it's all over the place, man. 65, 60. If games had a license in some way, my dude, they were costing $70. Let's go back a little bit more. Super Nintendo, yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm a Capcom
this is nowhere near where I started playing games.
fan. Duh. I'm a guy that likes arcade games.
Think about this too. $40 to $70 right here. $40 to $70. That right there. A single game would be like, if you convert that to now, to today, that would be something like about maybe $200 for the game.
I want to get my arcade experience at home, and I want to experience the arcade. That will cost you a premium for some reason. If you want an arcade game to be ported, there was just a premium attached to it. The latest version of NBA Jam is going to rock you $70 at launch. UMK3, that's an arcade game.
Pac-Man was $40. What?
$70 up?
Donkey Kong Country 3, $60. Like, if you look at these prices back when this was brand fucking new, and you convert them to today's prices, this would be like $150 right here to $200. Like that's what these would be at. This right here, this Pac-Man game, convert this to today, and this is a $100 game, maybe a $120 game.
At launch. Alpha 2, $70. And then you get some like moderately priced games here and there. Even first party games are closer to the 50, but holy shit, man. This was crazy. Like games were costing, the console was only 130. This is like competitive, right? This is normal. My dude,
the games were half the price of the console. What the fuck? Holy shit. What? I think I remember the GameCube being not too expensive when I was asking or saving up for it. I think it was something like $100 to $200, and I got the one that came with Mario Kart Double Dash.
$70 game in like 1995 is like
But realistically, $100 to $200 back when I bought the GameCube, and today that would be somewhere around $400+.
$100 now or some shit.
This right here would be like, yeah, $600 probably, $500-$600.
I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but what? It's not that far off. Yeah. Okay. Ah! This was me. My N64, when I eventually got one from a friend, had one fucking game because I couldn't afford anything, dude. It's $80 for KI. This was the exact same on
Holy
SNES
shit.
as well, right? Shadows of the Empire, $80. Like, holy mother of God, dude. Here's the good one. Yeah. This
Oh my god, yeah.
Dude, Donkey
Nintendo
Kong
is trying to
Country
bring
was
this
only
back, basically, for their
$79.48.
games.
Killer Instinct was one of the most anticipated
And to be honest, if they're successful, this might not be just Nintendo.
arcade games to
It's scary to think about, but realistically, depending on the quality of the game, like if I go back and think about a game that came out in the last couple years, good example, would I be willing to pay for it if it was over $100? God of War Ragnarok, yes. Spider-Man 2, yes. If it was over $100, I'd probably be still willing to play it because I know that, well, I've already played it, of course, but going into it, I probably would have still felt like it was worth it because the game developers I trust, they are good and they bring good quality. Elden Ring, I would probably still pay that much for Elden Ring.
ever show up on a piece of hardware. They were promising the world, you are getting the arcade experience at home. Are you ready to pay for it? It was $90.
Appreciate you subscribing.
And I'm telling you, like, my mom bought this shit for me. It cost $95 when it was rung up. It is crazy. Game prices were out of control. back in the 90s. They were out of control until PlayStation came around. And then after this, N64 games got a little bit cheaper, and then GameCube games were all $50, you know? $262 with inflation? Holy shit, dude.
Someone did the math of how much $262 for these games if we add the inflation from this period of time to now.
And people are like, what are these weird prices? This was normal. This was just how shit went. Some games were way more expensive. Some games wouldn't. Some games weren't. And you go back here and you look. I remember, Final Fantasy, dude, Chrono Trigger was like $75. So hilariously expensive back in the day.
Yeah. And thanks to Blockbuster, Game Crazy, and being patient, that's when you would pick up games or rent games.
Like Square Enix RPGs really were like trying to ream you. KI would have cost us $180 if we calculate the money today. I'm not saying this is an excuse. Buy the Nintendo GameCube for $99.99.
Oh, I remember this ad! Oh my fuck, I remember this ad. This is also okay, so it was $100 for the Double Dash combo. But I fucking saved, and I washed so many cars, and I did so much work around the house. I did so much for like a year to save up and get this fucking console. Dear God. I remember when I got this console, it was when I finally saved up enough money to get this console. I got Double Dash, and that was like my only game for the first 2 months of me owning this console. Because I bought it, I remember buying this console, or getting this console around October. But it wasn't until Christmas where I got 2 more games added to my collection on the GameCube. Dear God, I remember that. 2, maybe 3 games, actually. It might have been 3.
And we'll throw in Mario Kart for free. There's a reason for this. The PlayStation needed to make $50 games because they had to make their games cheaper. Had to create a piece of hardware that was CD-based and CD-focused, and we need to make sure that we have a leg up on our competitors in some way. Sega wasn't as much of a competitor at the time, but they needed to do something with the PlayStation.
The GameCube was such a goated console.
PlayStation 1 to bring people on board because they were weird, man. Sony making a system was a weird concept. So having their games be relatively cheaper, and especially cheaper when they were used, was a big deal. That was a big deal for people to eventually jump into a PlayStation. Why is this way as well? A friendly reminder, the N64 tanked. It did fairly well over here in the Americas, but in the rest of the world, this system bombed. People were not exactly ready for a 4-player local, like home multiplayer kind of system where it focuses on that. It was not particularly the most well-received hardware, even though it feels like it.
That I did not know about.
It kind of was now because we're from America. So what happened to the GameCube? The GameCube had to be competitive. They did mini discs. Every price of the game went down at least $10. The system, they were throwing it.
It was the cheaper console when it came to things like between the like when I got the GameCube itself was out for I think a couple years actually. Might have been like closing into 2, maybe 3-ish years is when I finally bought the GameCube, and I did not have a PS2. I did not have the original Xbox. I did not have any of those consoles. I had the N64 for a very long time before I got the GameCube, and it wasn't until like maybe 2 years after I had gotten the GameCube. I think I saved up money with still buying a couple games here and there for the GameCube, of course, but I was also putting money to the side and saving up. I think close to 3 years before I got a new console. I think the GameCube was my console for a very long time. Almost between 2 and 3 years is around the time frame it took me to buy the slimmer version. I never had the bricky version of the PS2. I got the slim version of it. And I got it where I think I only spent $200 to $240, I think, something around that point. I know it was around the 200 price point because I remember buying that and buying 2 games, Ratchet and Clank, Up Your Arsenal, which I believe is the 3rd game, and Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Those were my 2 first games for the PS2. I saved up enough money to buy the PS2, an extra controller, and 2 games, and those were my only games for like the first 3 to 4 months on the PS2. those were my games. And the thing about it that made me really save up and get the PS2 was because Budokai 3 was not available for the GameCube. I had Budokai 1 and Budokai 2 on the GameCube.
In games that you could get with the system, like deals like this were happening constantly. The GameCube was significantly cheaper than almost any other like launch system that Nintendo had done at the time, if not.
I also think GameCube, I never really had more than 20 games. I think at most it was like 25, maybe 30 at most. Actually, it was between 20 and 30 games for the GameCube for me growing up. And PS2, thanks to Game Crazy and thanks to buying games at like the $20 value and stuff like that, I got a higher collection on my PS2 over time, and slowly it also added to my GameCube. And I really hate the fact that I did this, because eventually I did sell my N64 as a kid. I sold all my N64 games to Game Crazy, and to get a couple of games for, I believe it was for PS2, and maybe one game for the GameCube at the time. I can't remember what I bought or what I got, but I remember selling it. I wish I never did.
Not comparable graphically even to what Xbox and PlayStation were doing, so they were having to be competitive. Games don't have to be competitive anymore, my dude. Things just keep getting more expensive. They sold like 60 million copies of Animal Crossing or some shit, man. They sold like 80 million copies of Mario Kart. The Nintendo's doing better than they ever have. There's some shit going down at Sony right now, but relatively speaking, the PlayStation 5 is selling even better than the PlayStation 4 at this point. Xbox, let's not talk about it. But still, the game industry, people are willing to spend like more money on games.
Well, if the next console for Xbox is what people are saying or talking or rumoring about, that's actually going to be a really big improvement for Xbox sales and stuff.
Just like in general, it's almost like it's a commodity. They're almost expecting that, hey, if you're really looking forward to this, we can charge more for it because you can't not buy it, right? In the same way, at this point,
you cannot buy it and wait for it to go on sale. But the hype for the game for you might not go away, but you are at risk. And nowadays, the one biggest problem that didn't matter when you were a kid, I'm not getting the game right away, it's not the same as today. Spoilers. It is harder to avoid spoilers nowadays because of how vast the internet is. Back when I was a kid and everything, I could wait 6 months after a game's release and then get it for like half the price and not have anything to worry about spoiler-wise. You wait a week, you're going to get something spoiled. And that's kind of how things are nowadays. It does suck, but it's just like that on the internet.
Smash Brothers could cost $90. If they made a brand new Smash Brothers and it's severe.
Oh, I don't even. Oh, no. If they do make a brand new Smash Brothers, that's where they'll probably go $100. Actually, I could see that for the physical copy, and 90 is going to be the digital cost for Smash Bros. That is on par, if not better, for Nintendo than Mario. I think when it comes to Mario Kart on games that could compete with it, Smash Bros is right there, maybe a little bit better, depending on how you feel.
Nearly increases everything that the previous game had, and it's like a big deal. I could see them like straight up charging you $90 because it's like the most characters. We have the most premium, highest roster like fighting game. What's happening is that in my brain, I can see their justification. We have characters from all these other franchises. We're doing this, we're doing that. This has more stages. Like, it's such a big game. We can't believe how much we fit in here. So for that, we're going to charge you $89.99. Like, that is where my brain is going and their justification of this being a thing. It sucks. And it's clear right now people have less money than they ever have. It's clear that a lot of people are feeling gouged in every single way. And we're not even going through the current global economic crisis that could be visiting us in the next few weeks. That has not even happened yet. So we don't even know the impact of that in the near future, because the majority of where these things are printed and where they come from, at least from a hardware perspective, are coming from the places that will be impacted 100%. All I got to say is that it's bizarre that we are retreading. It's bizarre that things are sort of going back to the old school super capitalist, like, hey, you know, you like arcade games, right? Well, we know how much you like arcade game ports. And guess what? The people that like arcade games always buy this shit. so we can just make them cost more and more and more. And now it feels like that's directly happening with, I would argue, Mario Kart, because I proposed an idea at the start of this that, like, you can charge us $500 for the Switch 2. You could charge us $550 for the Switch 2. If it meant that the games were standardized, if the games stay at 60, if they stayed there, we will be spending less money over time. What they're doing is trying to make the console affordable so that you're going to be spending way more money over time. Way more money, because you're not going to not have a Zelda. You're not going to have the new 3D Mario. You're not going to not have a Mario Kart. You're not going to not have a new Metroid or whatever. You're going to need to get those things, you know? So as soon as you've bought 4 games,
There's a lot of people out there
dude,
who will
you're
think
getting
like that.
close to, like, having spent the money you would have already spent on a more expensive system. And that's only like 3 or 4 games in. They're going for the long haul, is what they're doing.
You buy about 6 games, that's the price of the Switch 2. About 5 to 6 games.
It's like simple business economics. They're going for the long haul. There's almost like treating it like a subscription service where they slowly increase the price like over time and shit. You need these games, right? It is the most, and I am not even freaking talking about the goddamn upgrade shit, which sometimes feel like, okay, yeah, that upgrade seems pretty substantial. But some of them I was like, that better be really good, because that doesn't look particularly amazing for you to like charge.
He's probably referencing the Discord BS stuff that they're promoting to be revolutionary. No, it's not. Fuck off. That's like old fucking bullshit.
Something like $20 to $30 per game again.
Oh wait, no, he's talking about that. Never mind.
For something that like maybe you already have. Like, what is going on, dude? And it was already very weird because they were not immediately willing to talk about pricing, which was bizarre. That's
Ooh, you know what? I did think about this a little bit during my Nintendo Direct reaction. But yeah, it was odd that we never got a actual like price of anything that they showed off. It was after that and things dropping, information dropping after the fact.
That's like why we're here, is to find out what you're putting out and what it's going to cost. To me, it's a presumption that you're going to buy it anyway. Oh, we're still going to sell out though. What does it cost though? Don't worry about that. You'll find out soon. What do you mean? Oh, the games are $80? Like, what shit? All I'm saying is that it's very weird, and all I'm saying, it is bizarre as shit that we're going back to SNES era game pricing. And I don't think every game is going to be the standard $80. I think Donkey Kong is 70, but the door has now officially been opened. We thought GTA 6 was going to be the thing that would pretty much like knock the door down and be like, well, here we are. That was not the case. It, believe it or not, was Nintendo with Switch games, with Switch 2 games, and nobody's happy.
Damn, he's not wrong. All right, this has gone from a reaction discussion. What kind of rant, just fuckery video? This is almost an hour-long video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thought process. Things are changing. And with how Nintendo is, I don't think they're ever going to back down. It does not matter. They do not care about the public opinion of them. They know they will make money. And people are going to be screaming and everything. And this is going to affect... This is outright going to affect the game industry in a whole. This is one of the starting points. And he's not wrong with some of his statements about how it's going to take us back to the early days of gaming where the games themselves were half the price or a little bit more than half the price of the console itself. That is crazy to think about. I don't think it's ever going to get that bad. But realistically, I don't know. Fuck. All right. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this stupidly long video talking about Nintendo Switch stuff. And it's just a lot to talk about. But there you go. If you guys wanted my opinion and my thought process on everything, you can go also watch my Nintendo Direct at the end. I go into it. And like I said, I was way more heated about finding out that. And this is a day later, after seeing some videos, after agreeing with some of the statements and other stuff, and even hearing some of the things that Maxmillion said and showed about earlier days of gaming, and was shocking. See you guys next time. Till then, later.
light. Demons killer, take us on.